rousing way to begin this morning's program. Did you see the sun this morning? Did the birds wake you up as well? And did you notice the tulips outside City Hall and in the Apeldoorn garden and the secure trees? It's a good morning to be here. Welcome. I'd like to begin with the land acknowledgement statement. Burlington, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Haudenosaunee and the Métis, our lands spanning from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment are steeped in Indigenous history. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. The Burlington Mundialization Committee is pleased to welcome you this morning to the annual Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day ceremony, the first one in 3 years, by the way, celebrating Canada's historic relationship with the Kingdom of the Netherlands and reflecting on the contribution of Dutch immigrants to Canadian society. It is also, at this time, my pleasure to introduce your co-MC for today's event, Joanna Hahn. Joanna represents all those of Dutch heritage, having been born in the Netherlands. She speaks Dutch and is a member of the Apeldoorn Burlington Subcommittee, which is a component of the Mundialization Committee. Please welcome Joanna Hahn.
Goedemorgen. It's a real honor to act as your co-chair for this 25th anniversary of our Canadian-Netherlands Friendship Day, and also to celebrate the 17th anniversary of our twinning agreement with the City of Apeldoorn, which, by the way, is where I was born. I would like to introduce Miles Ross, who you just met, our co-chair or MC today. He has taught for many years at Nelson High School. He helped organize a number of youth exchanges with Apeldoorn. He's past chair of the Apeldoorn Subcommittee of the Burlington Mundialization Committee. So put your hands together for Miles Ross.
And now, if you're able, please stand and join us in the singing of the national anthem, the words of which are found on the back of your program. Please be seated. Let's give a big round of applause for our great ambassadors, the Burlington Teen Tour Band. I think you'll agree with me that they always add some excitement and pizzazz to our ceremony.
When our Mondialization Committee was formed in 1984, our mandate included, in part, the United Nations philosophy of peaceful cooperation among people of the world. This depends on mutual trust and appreciation of people of different nations, races, cultures, and systems. It encourages citizen connections as a way of fostering world peace, democracy, and understanding. Peace and democracy. Never have I heard these words more often than in the last few months, and never have they been more crucial and important. Our theme this year is global freedom through friendship and respect for all. Is it not wonderful that in Canada and in the Netherlands, we live in a free society? But freedom is fragile. It's not automatic. Current global events make that very clear. I'd now like to acknowledge a number of guests in our audience.
Please welcome Elizabeth Whitmer, former MPP and Deputy Premier for the Province of Ontario. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Burns MacLeod, President of the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 60.
Jan Kornov, Chair of the Apeldoorn Burlington Committee in Apeldoorn. He is accompanied by Hans Goedings, Lieutenant Colonel with the Dutch Royal Air Force. Welcome both.
Hassan Raza, Chair of the Burlington Mondialization Committee. Hassan?
And Ann Koopman, Chair of the Apeldoorn Burlington Subcommittee. And welcome to all of you and everyone here this morning.
It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce and welcome our Mayor, Marianne Mead Ward. Please join us.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Nice to see the sunshine, isn't it? And nice to see your sunny faces. Thank you so much for being here this morning, our first in 3 years. It is so nice to be able to get back to in-person events. And I want to welcome you to our beautiful city, those of you who are visiting, to commemorate Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day. I'm thrilled that we have Elizabeth Whitmer here, our Deputy Premier of Ontario. Thank you so much. You have been with us, I think, every celebration I've been to in the last 12 years, and probably before that too. So thank you so much for being with us this morning. The Consul General Harman Idema is not able to join us due to illness, but his remarks will be read on his behalf here today. I would also like to acknowledge my colleague, Councillor Angelo Bentavenia, who is here at the back, and Councillor Paul Sharman sends his regrets. He hoped to be here and is not feeling well today, but wanted to bring his greetings as well. And of course, I'd like to always acknowledge our global ambassadors, the Burlington Teen Tour Band, for your amazing performance here this morning, and I know we'll have more. Thank you so much. I would like to honor our veterans that we have here today with us. Burns MacLeod, President of Branch 60 of the Royal Canadian Legion here in Burlington. He served in the Royal Canadian Air Force and in the Canadian Army. Thank you, Burns, for being with us. Yes, you can clap for that. We also have retired Sergeant Dan Lazon, CDSSM, who served in the Gulf War. in 1991 and in Somalia, Africa in 92, 93 with the Airborne Regiment. Thank you so much for your service, Dan. And we also have retired Sergeant Robert Graham, who served in the Gulf War in Bosnia and Kosovo. Thank you so much for being here and for your service. Since the end of World War II, our connection has grown so much more over the last 7 decades. It's hard to believe it's been that long. The City of Burlington and the Netherlands community are tied together in an important way through our twin city relationship and mondialization efforts that officially began in 2005. And I do want to thank all of the members, the volunteers. They are volunteers of our mondialization committee. Hassan Raza, of course, the chair, and Ann Koopman, and many more. Thank you so much for your efforts in keeping those bonds of friendship strong and going so that we can celebrate today. We have, over the years, visited one another, stayed in touch through changes in leadership and changes in government, and of course, we stayed in touch even through a pandemic. We all figured out how to work Zoom and figure out the mute button and the unmute button. And we all embrace what mondialization is about, and you heard that so eloquently earlier today. It is about the belief that what unites us is far greater than what divides us, that learning about people of different nations and cultures, races, governments, encourages all of us to treat each other with peace. And peace is always needed. World events that are happening right now are a reminder of how important it is to build strong bonds of friendship and peace all over the world. And today is another step in that direction. So I thank you all for coming to share in this joyous occasion, and I will now officially read our proclamation on behalf of all of my colleagues on City Hall, at City Hall and City Council. Whereas the friendship that the people of Burlington and Canada share with the Netherlands has a rich and enduring history, dating back in particular to harboring the Dutch royal family and the birth of Her Royal Highness Princess Margriet in Ottawa during World War II, and the subsequent liberation of the Netherlands by Canadian troops on May 5th, 1945. And whereas the spirit of friendship will be celebrated each year in Burlington during the Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day festivities, an event that is very much a tribute to Canada's ongoing ties with the Netherlands. And whereas in a city built upon the hard work and character of people from all over the world, Burlingtonians of Dutch descent have prospered and given themselves in every facet of city life, and continue to make a unique contribution to the quality and spirit of our city. And whereas on the 6th day of May 2005, the City of Burlington and the City of Apeldoorn jointly declared their intentions to serve as twin cities, to create official bonds of friendship through a formal relationship. Therefore, I, Mary Ann Mead Ward, Mayor of the City of Burlington, do hereby proclaim May 5th as Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day and commend its thoughtful observance among all residents here in the City of Burlington. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne, for your always meaningful words. There are many good things that put Canada, or that put Burlington on the Canadian, if not the global map, not the least of which are our most famous ambassadors, the Burlington Teen Tour Band. They've traveled the world, from a humble beginning in 1947 on top of a store on Brant Street to the powerhouse that they are today. Our beloved Redcoats have performed in 6 countries in Europe, in Japan, 6 Canadian provinces, and 16 US states. They are now planning a trip to our East Coast, and next year, Ireland. Wow. In spite of such a hectic schedule, Managing Director Rob Bennett usually finds a few minutes to help us out with our celebration of Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day, for which we are very grateful. Please put your hands together for a select few of the Burlington Teen Tour Band who will perform for you now.
was just great. I'm just a little puzzled why we don't have people up dancing. Next time. Next time, it's your turn. As a former Nelson High School history teacher, I was involved with secondary school student exchanges between Burlington and Apeldoorn, even before the two mayors signed a formal twinning agreement on the 6th of May, 2005. Our student exchange program with Apeldoorn was one of my most rewarding experiences in my teaching career. A few years ago, we welcomed several Apeldoorn High School students here with a very successful student program under the leadership of Miss Judith Jennis. Where's Judith? Over here. And her counterpart in Apeldoorn, Tim Van Dolen. And as much as I was proud of what I did, I have to acknowledge Judith as a master of putting exchanges together. Unfortunately, however, the second leg of the exchange, in which our students were going to visit their friends in Apeldoorn, never took place because of COVID-19 interfering. Nevertheless, two of our Burlington students hosted in our Apeldoorn youth, Olivia and Winn, would like to tell you about their experiences as hosts. So please come forward, Olivia and Winn.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to see people together after the difficult few years that we've had. Just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Olivia Dykstra, and I'm a grade 12 student at Burlington Central High School. And I had the pleasure of participating in the Burlington Apeldoorn Youth Exchange Program in 2019. My experience with the exchange was unforgettable and has created friendships that will last a lifetime. My partner's name is Miriam. She likes to play basketball, read, cook, and scrapbook. In many ways, we are very similar. On Miriam's first day in Burlington, it was amazing to me that despite never having met before, our friendship seemed to come so easily. Later that day, I was discussing the flight with Miriam, and she shared that this was her first time on an airplane. Not only was I in complete awe of her bravery, as the first time she traveled internationally was by herself, I remember thinking how unique it was that I got to share my community, city, and country with a person who had never experienced anything outside of Europe before. One event that I believed helped us to build a strong foundation of trust in our friendship was the day that we took a group trip to Halloween Haunt in Vaughan. Although both of us were a little bit nervous, as neither of us are particular fans of roller coasters or other amusement rides, we conquered our fear together and had a great time. During the exchange, we also traveled to Toronto and Niagara. These trips were extremely meaningful to me because I was able to observe the exchange students' reactions to some of Canada's greatest sights, such as the CN Tower and Falls, which I had come accustomed to passing and never, until this moment, had really stopped to appreciate how amazing they are. Being able to share Thanksgiving with Miriam was also very memorable. We were lucky enough to spend the weekend with another exchange member's family at their cottage. On our road trip up to Muskoka, I remember talking to Miriam about the size of Canada and how long it would take to drive coast to coast, and how Miriam was in complete shock of how large it was. Between the incoherent games of telestration and our polar bear plunge into the cold lake, our time at the cottage was filled with laughter. As I mentioned earlier, Miriam and I were matched perfectly. However, it was also amazing to see how our pairing transcended our relationship, as now my parents have become good friends with hers. I've not yet had an opportunity to visit Miriam in Apeldoorn, but we do our best to stay connected. Whether that would be a quick message on social media to share a picture that reminded us of each other, or our wonderful conversations over Zoom. I am forever appreciative of the friendships which I have been able to form as a result of my experience with the exchange. Not only am I grateful for my incredible relationships with Miriam and the other Dutch students, but also with the Canadian students as well, as the exchange gave me an opportunity to connect with kind people from Burlington who I otherwise would never have met. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Each friend and relationship you make in life is a gift. The Burlington Apeldoorn Youth Exchange was the bearer of such gifts for me. It has been transformational to learn and become a part of the friendship legacy between Canada and the Netherlands. Were it not for the Burlington Apeldoorn Youth Exchange in October 2019, this opportunity wouldn't have been possible. And thanks to the exchange, I was partnered with a girl my same age named Rose Vandersnel. who turned out to be an excellent match in so many ways. We hit it off immediately. In fact, the whole group got along remarkably well. Judith Jennis and the subcommittee, the Burlington Mundialization Committee, the Apeldoorn Burlington Committee from Apeldoorn, Netherlands, and the City of Burlington did so much to facilitate and support all of the participants of the exchange. We toured Toronto, Niagara Falls, we did a potluck, played pool, and sang a stirring rendition of Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. We also researched Canadian soldiers who lost their lives on Dutch soil in the name of liberation. Learning about these soldiers, some of them just a little older than we were, was profound. The ties that bind our citizens is special, and the strength of the bond holds decades later. Myself and the group of Burlington students were booked to visit Apeldoorn in May 2020. Unfortunately, a virus by the name of COVID-19 had other plans. It was heartbreaking for everyone involved when the trip was postponed. We hoped to travel as a group in fall 2020, but the pandemic made it impossible. As months went on, Rose and I would video call and stay in touch through photos and social media. We would discuss our experiences of lockdown and our fears as well as frustrations. Despite the geographic distance, our experiences were very close in comparison. The closeness was a comfort and deepened our bond. We became more than an exchange partner. Rose became someone who I'd go to for advice, to have a good laugh with. We would share what was going on in our lives and talk about our hope to see each other again. By summer 2021, the vaccine was made available to teens in Canada and the Netherlands. The exchange group couldn't make formal plans yet to travel yet, but Rose's family and my family agreed to finish what we had started. In July, we booked my ticket to Amsterdam. I could finally see Rose again and meet her family. I had never traveled alone before, and I had never been to Europe. As luck would have it, a Dutch neighbor and family friend had booked on the same flight as me. Ronald was flying to see his daughter who used to babysit me when I was little. Another connection. I arrived in the Netherlands and was greeted by Rose and her family at the airport. Rose's family was so welcoming and kind towards me. I will always be grateful for them coming into my life. We would joke about how similar our families were. In some ways, it was as if we lived the same life, just on different continents. They lived in a beautiful Dutch farmhouse located in a small town called Clarenbeck, just outside of Apeldoorn. Each day, Rose and I had a few places to see. We visited places like Scheveningen, Utrecht, Amsterdam, Apeldoorn. All the cities looked like something from a fairy tale. They were so charming and beautiful, I was in complete awe. When we weren't sightseeing, we would spend time with her close friends, who would soon become some of my good friends. All the people I met there were warm and welcoming, letting me into their homes, showing me where they went to school, teaching me new Dutch words, and trying new food. I got to experience a Dutch festival. Rose and her friends made a goal for me to know a Dutch song word for word by the end of my stay. This was not an easy task. Even though English was not Rose's family and friends' first language, they always made the effort to include me in conversation. Every person I met in the Netherlands put in the effort to make my stay special. Some of my fondest memories took place there, but these moments would not have happened if it weren't for the wonderful people who helped make it happen.
Thank you so very much, Olivia and Winn, for sharing your experiences of your participation in the student exchange program. It certainly shows, it's a good illustration of how much we can learn from each other through these exchanges. So we hope that they can be in full swing again in the future. Now some of our students from Pineland Public School took part in a ceremony at Queen's Park a few years ago, which recognizes May as Dutch Heritage Month in Ontario. This was the brainchild of Elizabeth Whitmer, when she was MPP and Deputy Premier, as well as Minister of Education and Minister of Health. She was born in the Netherlands and is proud of her Dutch heritage. She's also a close friend of Princess Margriet, who lives in Apeldoorn, and both are involved in the joint Global Health Advisory Board of McMaster University and Maastricht University in the Netherlands. She's a strong supporter of the friendship ties between our two countries, and I ask you now to join me in welcoming Elizabeth Whitmer.
Well, thank you very much for your very kind introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here again today. And as I listen to the students talk about the special visit exchange that they'd had, it really makes you realize everything that you're doing is so worth while. And if we're to continue and strengthen these bonds of friendship, which we know at times can be quite fragile, certainly this event today and all of the people, past and present, who have contributed to the success of this Friendship Day are to be congratulated, because certainly it's reaping huge rewards. So let me say thank you to those of you who worked this year in order to make this possible, and those in the past. I'm always impressed and pleased to see so many young people participating, because they are the future. They are the ones who are going to have to continue the relationship and ensure that they nurture it and that they do what they can in order to keep those ties as strong as possible. So today we celebrate the anniversary of the twinning. We celebrate the liberation of the Netherlands by the Canadian liberators, and I do want to recognize those of you in the armed forces that are here today. You know what, without the sacrifices of you and your colleagues, you know, Holland wouldn't be where it is today. And I know that the people in the Netherlands owe you, they feel they owe you a huge debt of gratitude, and they will be forever thankful for what you did. And I just know that when we came to Canada, the first person we met was a soldier who'd been to the Netherlands, and my mom and dad, my brother and I walked into a butcher shop, and I don't know what happened, but anyway, the butcher said to my parents, who of course had quite a Dutch accent at that time, "Oh, you're from the Netherlands. Oh, I was there. I helped with the liberation." Well, you know, my dad embraced this gentleman. They were friends for life, and there truly is a special relationship between Canada and the Netherlands as a result. And that's what that friendship is based on. Also, if you take a look at the fact that we've got about 500,000 people of Dutch descent living in Ontario, we've got 1 million in Canada, those who have come, and I know some of you are in the audience today, you have made a huge contribution to the province of Ontario, its economy, its culture, social life, and political. And we're celebrating that today too. There's a special friendship. And so there are so many friendships that we celebrate, so many stories that we have to share, and it's so great now to hear the students sharing those stories that they've experienced. Now, one person who does feel a very, very close relationship, of course, to Canada is Princess Margriet. And she is, of course, was born here because Canada gave hospitality to the Dutch royal family. And as a result, she was born here. And although she lives near Apeldoorn, I will say to you every time I see her, and she currently is in Canada. She was in Ottawa to celebrate the Tulip Festival. You know, she tells me, "Elizabeth, that is so special, that friendship between Canada and the Netherlands." And she says, "For me, Canada is my second country." And so anyway, we celebrate today the friendship between our two countries. We celebrate the liberation. But I think what's really important as we look to the future is what you have done in order to preserve the friendship. And that is, you've set up these committees, you've got these exchanges, and to the teachers who have been responsible for some of these exchanges. I'm a former history teacher myself, by the way, Mouse. And I do know there's a lot of work involved, but I think, you know, you can see the rewards. So, and also, I just want to recognize you, Mayor. I applaud the City of Burlington for having been behind this and for the work that you have done in order to ensure the continuation. I don't know any other community that has anything similar, but you're going to have a great impact on future friendships for generations to come. And we know that the world's pretty fragile, but this makes a big difference. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Your comments are always eloquent, and they always remind me why being here today is so important. Also, you're a great example of someone of Dutch heritage who's integrated and contributed to our Canadian society. And your comments about youth resonate a lot with me. And your timing couldn't have been better to introduce our next group, because teacher Allison Brody from Bruce T. Lindley Public School has been an enthusiastic supporter of our Pen Pal program with Apeldoorn Elementary Schools. And her students wanted to be very much a part of today's program. So let's enjoy it.
Good morning. How is everyone today? I wasn't expecting to speak because my students in grade 3-4 Bruce T. Lindley Public School have worked very hard on a canvas that they felt represented the theme, which I will let them introduce to you as well, for this year's Friendship Day. So I will let them come up. Christina is going to help me with the painting they made, and Liam, and Martha, and Johan, and Jack. All right, you guys want to go on that big office? Well, they've been practicing to project our voice, so we'll see how it goes. Come on up, Jack. And Johan, you're going to be beside Jack. They're going to go the way they practiced at school. Oh, that's perfect. Ready, Christina? We'll open this. Okay. Really.
This painting represents freedom, democracy, and friendship, which is the theme for this year's Friendship Day. Freedom and democracy are a way of life for us. Democracy allows everyone to do what they want to do as long as they follow the laws in their country and their country. Irrespective of rights and freedom, in our painting, freedom is represented by nature. To us, the mountains and the forest are the symbols that we thought of when we were asked what freedom means to us. The tulips represent friendship. The Netherlands understand tulips and Binks for protecting them in World War II. In autumn, around the Parliament building, hundreds of tulips in the Netherlands are in bloom for the annual Tulip Festival. Tulips show our friendship between the Netherlands and Canada. The jade banners wear the colors of the Canadian and the Netherlands flags. The hands are clasped in friendship and support. The viewer looks toward the peaceful land that lies ahead in unison with the people in the painting. Thank you for this opportunity to come to our City Hall. And to meet all of you for Friendship Day.
Thank you, Miss Brody and students. That was excellent. You're amazing. Really well done. Yeah. I think Ann Koopman has a little gift for you to show our appreciation, because you did a really good job. Thank you so much. Enjoy them. We've mentioned Apeldoorn, our twin city in the Netherlands, several times today. And visiting today from Apeldoorn is Jan Korenhoff, who's chair of the Apeldoorn-Burlington Comité, as they say in Holland, in Apeldoorn. And with him is a special guest. He is Lieutenant Colonel in the Netherlands Air Force, a liaison officer. He's a helicopter pilot, and he has an MBA in sports management. He was one of the key organizers of the Invictus Games held recently in The Hague. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Hans Goedings. Goedings? Over there, yes.
Dear Mayor of Burlington, Excellencies, distinguished guests and citizens from Burlington. What a nice introduction, thank you very much. But it's a pleasure to announce I'm still a student because I have this chairman, Jan Korenhoff, better known as Mr. Canada from Apeldoorn. And I recently met him because I had a special assignment for the Army. They put me in a team of 75 years of liberation to organize, including the Invictus Games. So I went to the guy in the city and I said, Jan, you should help me because there are some big shots in Holland. They show up, you know everybody, and I'm just an officer. Please help. So Jan started to give me the lessons and he said, okay, we need you for the Burlington Committee in Apeldoorn because all the people get more old and gray and we need young people. But I said, I'm not young. We need students like the kids, we need musicians, young musicians, we need the exchange programs. And since I'm also a chairman of the Netherlands Air Cadets, I could imagine what we need. And we keep the bond firm between Burlington City and Apeldoorn. And since Princess Margriet is in Ottawa, we will also visit Ottawa and my colleague from Air Force, Ton Linze. Jan told me, if you will be a member of this committee, you have some assignments, and this is one. He didn't announce anything, but this morning he told me, you have to speak for this group, and you have to tell our motto and our goals for the future. And afterwards he said, well, I think you're the best student of my group, because I am the only one. I'm sorry for that. But what I found out, this together, Burlington Day, a Friendship Day, Apeldoorn, Burlington, and there is another city which is connected to Burlington. This is quite important. And we should organize it in Holland on the same level, but also bringing in more kids, more young people, and getting them involved in the exchange programs. And since we do this also for the Air Cadets, the International Air Cadet Exchange, we have the people around. And Apeldoorn is a big city with lovely people, and we can host you, and your group is represented now, because of the COVID, it couldn't go on, but now this is the time to start up again. And I will make sure that Jan puts me in the right direction to host you and welcome you all in Apeldoorn, which is also a fantastic city, but I'm really impressed about Burlington. I'm really impressed about our host family in Stevensville. These people are older, but so nice. It could be my mother and my father, and that's the way I feel it. So this is the good feeling. And about the Invictus Games, just one story. I brought in my two girls, 18 and 19 years old, in a basketball contest between Holland and Canada. And I tell you, this game was not fair because there was an unequal score. But then finally, our Dutch team understood the message and they let the Canadian play. And the whole stadium was crying, including me. But this taught me more about friendship and about behavior than the other way around with the reality of a war in the Ukraine. And we saw this, and this is really the motto for today. The freedom is holy, and we should stick together as close as possible. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. And I get my score from Mr. Canada from Apeldoorn, Jan Korenhoff. Give him a big applause. He's the guy who brought me in. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Hans. We hope that your visits to Burlington and Ottawa are productive and exciting. But you mentioned Air Cadets. I was one a long time ago in high school. And we have a great Air Cadet squadron here in Burlington, so I don't know who the contact is, but there's someone in this room that must know, and before you leave, maybe you can set something up with them. By the way, you're not the first Dutch colonel I've seen, because back in 2005, we stayed at the OACS, just north of Apeldoorn, and there was a Colonel Burmeister that, you know, he was a great guy. Speaking about great people, on this side of the ocean, Jack Vanderland was busy establishing the Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day. And as we've already mentioned, it's now in its 25th year, and it's still going strong. Unfortunately, Jack is not able to be with us this morning, but we would like to thank him for cementing this important relationship. Jack? And there's another person who has strengthened the political and social relationship between the Netherlands and Canada, and he is our next speaker. For 60 years, he has spearheaded countless events. In recognition of his tireless involvement on behalf of the Canada-Dutch community, he received the Knight of the Order of Oranje Nassau in the name of King Willem Alexander of the Netherlands. This is a very high honor indeed. However, many of us know him as the Radio Man. With his Dutch Touch radio station program on CJMR 1320, which aired earlier today, please welcome Martin van Denzen.
March 30th, 1943. A British bomber was on its way to Berlin, dropped his bombs, and on the way back, they flew over the Markermeer and were chased by a German hunter and shot down. 3 years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, was a few fishermen. They were fishing, and they thought they caught something really, really big because they couldn't get the line back up. A piece came up, and then they realized afterwards they found that bomber. And then wheels were put in process. By the way, I just came back from Holland. I left my voice there as well, so that's why. And a monument was erected in honor of these brave men that were shot down. They found the DNA of theirs. They got part of the plane, the engine block was lifted up and is now sitting in Almere with a picture of a pilot sitting on the engine. I saw it 2 weeks ago during Remembrance Day. It's an extremely moving monument. We see many monuments. This one really gets you. And then he wrote a book about it, and it was written originally in Dutch. And we got involved with our Dutch community, and we said, this has to be translated. So we helped with the funds and so forth. So I brought the book with me. It has a story of everyone that was involved with this particular flight. There's even a story in there about the German hunter in his plane that shot the plane down. We are distributing this to the youth of Canada, around here, of course. I've brought a series of books with me that I would love for you to, if I have enough of them, I'll hand them to you with the promise that you hand them to the young people, because they must learn. That's all I want to say. I want to hand this book to our mayor as a memento.
You always show great enthusiasm, Martin, in everything you do. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for the gifts you have brought. Now, in previous years, we've been pleased to have the Consul General of the Netherlands with us. And at this point in our program, I was to have introduced our new Consul General, Harman Idema. Harman was Director of International Cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in The Hague, the Netherlands. He is specialized in bilateral relations, trade strategy, and public diplomacy. Unfortunately, however, he is not able to be with us today, but he has sent his remarks, the remarks that he would have made had he been able to come, and so I will read those on his behalf. Dear friends of the Apeldoorn Subcommittee of the Burlington Mondialization Committee, ladies and gentlemen, children. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to your Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day in recognition of the role of the Canadian Armed Forces in the liberation of the Netherlands in 1945. Regretfully, I'm not able to make it today as I tested positive for COVID. I have only mild symptoms, but nevertheless, I am, of course, isolating at home. I am relatively new to Canada. My wife, Marissa, and I, and our dog, Coco, moved here in August of last year. We came from Chile, where I served as ambassador. We have 2 children who are at university in Rotterdam and Utrecht. The commemoration of our liberation remains as important as ever. But we cannot stand here today and celebrate without considering the atrocities that are currently taking place in Ukraine. We must continue to support Ukraine together with our European and NATO allies. The Dutch government is playing its part, supporting military goods, humanitarian aid, and economic support. As my country knows from our own experience what it means to get support from other countries, Canada played such an important role in our liberation at the end of the Second World War, and we will never forget that. It is the 5th of May when in the Netherlands we celebrate our liberation, a day of joy, freedom, and friendship. This year it was 77 years ago that the Netherlands was liberated. It was a monumental struggle of service and sacrifice of Canadian soldiers in the defense and pursuit of democracy and freedom. And the bravery of many Canadian soldiers was instrumental in bringing an end to the occupation of our country. We are eternally grateful to Canada for the role its brave soldiers played at the end of the Second World War in liberating the Netherlands. Our royal family found safe ground here in Canada during the war years. Our Royal Highness Princess Margriet was born in Ontario. And once the war had ended, tens of thousands of Dutch immigrants made the crossing and found a second home in this hospitable country. Part of the commemoration of gratitude and our friendship is, as you know, symbolized by the annual gift of 20,000 tulips from the Netherlands to Canada. And there's also a special tulip named after Don White, the well-known veteran who I hope to visit in a couple of weeks. We are proud and grateful that on April the 10th, 2019, the Canadian Parliament declared May the 5th as Dutch Heritage Day in all of Canada. And of course, there's also the month of May, which since 2011 is known as Dutch Heritage Month in Ontario. It is an appropriate testimony of the broad respect for the warm historical friendship and for the contributions that Dutch Canadians have made to the economic, political, academic, cultural, and social fabric of Ontario and its society. It is also the foundation for a strong future as partners, solving global challenges like armed conflict and climate change. In closing, let me tell you this. I was born in 1964. My dad was born in 1934. He told me stories of the Second World War, but through the eyes of a 5 to 10-year-old child, because that was his age at that time. Myself, I am from a generation that grew up during the Cold War, which in my experience at the time was more an abstract concept than a war. The Ukraine is the closest that armed conflict has come to my country since the Second World War. As a family, we realize more than ever the fragility of peace, freedom, and democracy, and appreciate more than ever the braveness of those that fought for our peace and freedom. Today is a day to celebrate that fragile peace and show our gratitude to those who helped us protect our freedom and democracy. Those who saved us will be our friends forever. But friendship needs to be nurtured, and it is through events like you are organizing here in Burlington and relations with Apeldoorn in the Netherlands that keep our memories alive and our friendship warm. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Idema, for your comments. Wish you were here, but we wish you a speedy recovery and a full passageway back to health. And we hope also that one day soon you'll be able to join us here in Burlington in our beautiful city. Now, just before we turn it over to the Teen Tour Band members who play again, if anyone feels like dancing in front, I'm not sure whether this is the dance type of music. It is? I got it on good authority here that if you want to stand up in front and dance a little bit, go ahead. Burlington Teen Tour Band, it's yours. I hope the students in the front row are hoping one day to be able to play the flute or saxophone, just like these ones. You've got some nods and you've got some newfound talent. We'd like to thank the Burlington Teen Tour Band for keeping our program lively and entertaining. And we need to give a special thank you to Rob Bennett for all his help today. Where's Rob? Our last speaker this morning has held many positions in military as well as political circles. He is, however, currently 6,000 kilometers away, but it is only fitting that he is part of today's ceremony. So with the help of modern technology, we're happy that he is able to be with us today. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ton Heerts, Mayor of Apeldoorn.
Dear friends in the City of Burlington, I hope you all are healthy and well. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to virtually be with you on the occasion of the Canada-Netherlands Friendship Day. I would rather be there to you instead of taking a video, but I hope we can arrange a live meeting another year. Because this is an important celebration, showing once again that human connections and friendships don't stop at national borders. The bonds between us have been very special since 1945. As you all know, Canadian soldiers liberated our city in April 1945. And we have never forgotten and will never forget the sacrifices the Canadians made by giving us back our freedom. We cannot take freedom for granted. Our thoughts are with the people in the Ukraine at this moment. In 2005, our cities, Burlington and Apeldoorn, officially connected. Since then, many exchange programs were organized. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, we haven't met far too long. The Canadian Festival, which was planned in May 2020 on the occasion of the celebration of 75 years of freedom, was to be held in front of our royal palace, which you see just right behind me. Beautiful. This palace has been renovated and it's more than ever a marvelous place to visit and to take a step back in Dutch history. I'm looking forward to receive you as our guest and show you around in what I think is the most special place in Apeldoorn. Thank you once again for your friendship and your loyalty, and I hope we will meet again soon. Till then, I wish you all the best.
And a thanks to Mayor Ton Heerts in Apeldoorn. Isn't technology great? And boy, how we've come to depend on it during these COVID times, right? We've learned a lot. Now, all around you, you will see art from Burlington, actually from kids, school kids in Burlington, Apeldoorn, and yes, also Itabashi, Japan. There's an exhibit here, several around the back. So we encourage you before you leave to take a little stroll around, check out the art that the kids have provided for your enjoyment. Also, there's coffee in the back corner, so help yourself to a cup of coffee. There are juice boxes, I think, if you kids would like some. There's some cookies, so help yourself to refreshments as you enjoy the art. My husband and I are fortunate enough to live very close here to the park, to the Burlington waterfront, and at this time of year, boy, do we enjoy walking there. And around this time in May, we keep an eye out on the cherry blossoms to see, every time we check, are they blooming yet? Are they blooming yet? In Japan, they're called sakura trees or sakura blossoms, and they are a gift from our friends in Itabashi. Itabashi, Japan, as you may know, is our other twin city. Last Sunday, Mother's Day, I think they were absolutely spectacular, and I didn't see them this morning, but I am assured that as of late yesterday, they still looked splendid. Then there's also the tulips at Apeldoorn Park, just down the street. It's sort of right at the bottom of the St. Luke's Church property. So we'd encourage you to take a walk around, check out Burlington Park, the tulips, and make your way to the lakeshore, enjoy the cherry blossoms, and make your way back here for the second part of our program today, which is the Itabashi Committee will be presenting a program that includes Japanese dance, music. Come and experience Japanese culture. I want to just shout out a couple of thank yous as we end, especially for the committee members who have worked so hard on this. Definitely, surely, our chair and her husband, Arnold Koopman. We have Alan Dykstra, definitely Alex, who's kept all these things moving nicely along and kept us paced properly. Other committee members who are here, Judith, Shirley, Bill, are there other, raise your hands, that we've sort of worked in the background, but Arnold and Alex and Alan certainly did the bulk of the work. It's also nice to see a few former committee members here who have contributed in many ways in years past. Ed, it's nice to see you. David Knapp, over there, yep. And it's also very nice, Rick Goldring, that you're with us this morning. Thank you for your presence. And thank all of you for coming. Take a stroll. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all for being here.